Hey everyone, this is Founders365 with me, Stephen Haggerty, episode 37. Today I am joined by Ashley Hogarth, founder of Peruse. Is it called pronounced Peruse or have you come up with Peruse?
I didn't, to Brown.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, Ashley, or Ash, I'm going to call you from now on. So how are you? Welcome.
That was super slick, super professional. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
How you doing?
No, me, professional, never. I just roll into this. I don't have a script. Things go wrong. It's all good.
A Joe Rogan podcast, just
exactly. Just not 3 hours long. So,
yeah. Heaven forbid they have to listen to me talk for 3 hours.
I reckon you could do that, considering we were just talking for 20 minutes beforehand.
Blimey, was that 20 minutes?
Yeah, so I'm utilizing your time already. So, talk to me about what you're working on, or what you've launched, and how you got to that stage already.
Okay, so we'll go from inception. And for the gym goers of your podcast who listen, they'll be familiar with something called pre-workout. And those who don't know what that is, that's it's kind of like a Red Bull times by 3. And so people take it before they go to the gym, and they get super fired up, ready for a good workout. And I'd taken a bunch. And at the time, so I live in South London. At the time, my gym was in London Bridge in central London. And I'd taken a bunch of it and hopped on the train, ready to go, getting super fired up, listening to some Metallica on the tube. I'm ready to go. And then I arrived there on a Saturday afternoon and I forgot my shorts. So I am like losing my mind. And at that point, I then took a run in my jeans. I said to the desk, I said, have you got any shorts? They said, sorry, we don't, but we think that there's a shop at Canada Water you can go to. And I said, are you telling me on midday on a Saturday, there's not somewhere nearer than 2 stops away on the tube I can just buy some shorts? So I ended up running to London Bridge. I ran over the water. I went to American Topgolf just over the water, and then ran round to Tower Bridge and back. And I went, you know what? I should be able to just search on something. I should just be able to search. I want some shorts. And then it'll show me every shop in the area selling that thing. And so then I came away. I actually sat on the idea for probably about 1.5 years, just mulling over and going, what can I do with this, and how would I do it, and what technology I'm going to use, etc. And then about a year ago, maybe 1.5 years ago, I started to really consider it seriously. And then I got in touch with Virgin Startup. And they helped me run through the process. I assume some of your guests may have used Virgin Startup.
I know a couple of people that have gone through Virgin Startup.
Yeah. And so I went through them, and then I left my job maybe in June or July. Yeah, left in June. It was a nice finish, actually, because I left my job and then got to go to Glastonbury and then came back.
That celebratory end of your corporate career.
Although it's quite something to have to start a company feeling like you do after Glastonbury.
Yeah, I bet.
It's quite
wacky designs came out then.
yeah, there's a little bit of that. So yes, it started and developed the product, which was a interface for shop owners to maintain their inventory, and they could upload. They can manually input all their stuff. Mm-hmm. And then there's the app which the shoppers will use, and they'll search. Okay, I want to buy shorts. I'm in the area, and then that'll help them see what the shop owners have uploaded. And that's so. We launched that maybe in. I say we. I mean, it's just me at the minute. The royal we.
Yeah, it's the classic we.
Yeah, it helps to invite investors when you go. I'll speak to the team.
Yeah. On the way back, having your Starbucks going. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, so launched in October, and then my time now has just been spent getting some initial shops on board. I've been approaching the kind of indie mums and papas stores initially, and then also I'm going to start reaching out to kind of the bigger corporation, bigger retailers. Like
yeah, get the big dogs on board.
Yeah.
And your background is computer science.
Yeah, so I took a computer science undergrad degree. That gave me a foundation for programming. And then I took a postgrad degree. I met a lecturer in my 3rd year of university who did HCI, which is like the academic term for user experience. I really loved his course. Shout out to Matt Jones of Swansea University.
So if he's listening, I'll be impressed.
What are the odds?
Yeah. You get a text tomorrow, be like, great podcast, mate.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so he put me in touch with St Andrews University. I will do another shout out to Aaron Quigley there.
Aaron, good guy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
So he put me in touch with Aaron, and then I went and did a master's degree there, and that's where kind of the user experience background really sort of solidified.
So you're like I was saying before this podcast, you're ahead of a lot of founders because you're in control of the design, the creation, and all those things that most people are stumbling upon or struggling with is probably a better word than stumbling upon. How much of an advantage has that been for you to get this product, to get this app launched?
Crazy. So the startup loan I took from Virgin, so many people would have had to spend all of that on development. Also, I'll be honest about it. I took out a 15K loan. And yes, some people would have had to spend all of that on development and probably not got the amount that I've been able to create. I genuinely feel bad for some founders who have these wonderful ideas and who are just held back by, I've got no technical knowledge, or I can only do the design part, or this and this. I think it's there's got to be opportunity in the future, I think, for a company to move into that space and help bridge that gap. Because so many people have got brilliant.
There are a couple of companies that are doing that already, that are offering the whole, you come into us and we'll give you all the code as you want. But there's always, I think the main issue is that it's the lack of education / knowledge in terms of what is involved in creating an app, what they even want in it, which obviously you already knew about. So you could straight away look at it and go, yeah, this is doable, this is not doable, this is going to take me X amount of hours, which is great, right? Yeah,
exactly. I was able to size everything up. I stuck roughly to schedule. I think I have a what's the word? I was going to say overflow.
Overflowed.
I came
overtime.
I went
not the right word, but I know what you mean.
This is what I meant when I said, thank God there's not 3 hours of this. Me scrapping for.
Now you're thinking, I really wish Stephen edited these podcasts. Never.
I think I went over time by maybe a couple of weeks. Everything else.
That's not too bad though, considering an app development.
Yeah, exactly. And I had to make some decisions that every founder has to make. I had some ideas of, wouldn't it be great to have this from go live? But then you always refer back to this concept as the MVP, the minimum viable product. And you go, what? Actually, we can get away without that. So, for example, one of the early ideas I wanted to have was that the app would also work for the shop owners, and that there's a barcode scan each of their products just to help them register their stuff quicker, which I think is something I've still got in development and something I'll definitely flesh out. But I didn't have to have that to start with. Something simple interface where they could just press, okay, here's my name, here's the name of the product, here's the price of it, here's the attributes and description. That's perfectly fine to launch with. Exactly.
How were the conversations when you first started reaching out to retailers telling them about this?
It's good. Yeah, the difficulty we found when the retail, if you get in front of the right people, it generally sells itself, because for the small indie stores, it's free. Everyone gets one store for free. I wanted there to be no reason not to join. And so I set up a model where if you've got one store, you get to join for free. After that, you got to join the pro model, which is £20 a month. And that gives you one extra store. And then it's £5 per month per store after that. My aim was, and I don't know where this came from, but I just said to myself that I'd like to keep it cheaper than their phone bill.
That's a good pricing system.
And plus, as well, with £5 per month per store, it pretty much pays for itself after one transaction a month. So if you get in one customer, that's fine. How do we get to this question? What did you ask?
How did the conversation with the retailers go?
Yes, initial concept. So when you get in front of the right people, it goes well, and they say, brilliant. There's not really much barrier to entry here. The difficulty we found was just getting to the right people. Getting you speaking to decision makers, because so often, particularly with the small indie retailers, you've got someone on minimum wage front of house that
they don't care.
This isn't their decision to be made. And so, they're going, listen, pal, do you want a coffee or not? I don't care about your app. Just fine. I'll give it to my manager. The response has been generally quite good. And plus as well, to consumers, the response is really quite good as well, because my sell to them is, this isn't a replacement for online shopping. There's a reason Amazon is a success.
Yeah.
This is for the times when buying online isn't right for you. So either you want to see it in person first, you're in a place you don't know, you need it right away, you're in a place you can't take delivery, and so on.
Exactly. For you, when you started rolling out this, were you surprised about how well it went, or were you expecting a little more hiccups when it went live?
Technically, it went as smoothly as I thought. The technical aspect.
Good political answer there.
No, as in the tech aspect went.
Yeah.
It was.
It worked.
It worked. I was a little bit surprised, if I'm honest. Apple do a really good job of filtering who gets on the App Store. There's a lot of rules and regulation. Google were just like, cool, get on board. Like, no worries. And I don't know if they check code base or if they see it doing anything, untoward. But yeah, there was some checks with Apple, and they even said, listen, you've got to change this, this, and this, or you need to tell your users this. Absolutely fine. But Google were just like, get on board, pal. No problem. So technically it went fine. I think because I had subscribed to the idea, I fell in love with the product so much. I had a bit of a dream that it would be, I would open the doors and they would come flooding in.
Yeah.
But then that you realize the reality of what that is.
That day where you're just refreshing, and it's come on.
Yeah, there's a bit of that, and so you realize that if I was to sell you something for free now, you'll go, well, hang on a sec, what's going on?
Yeah, so, what's the catch?
Yeah, exactly. So to think that retailers could just hear about me once and then be, yep, great, I'm on board. I think that was a bit naive of me. Let me step back. That was very naive of me. This needs a strong sort of sales and marketing presence to say, okay, listen, here's what we've got, and then to manage that sales life cycle. To expose them to the product, and then go back to them maybe a month later and say, I told you about this thing. Would you be interested in thinking about it again?
Knowing that now, do you think you would have launched differently?
Maybe I would have. Maybe I would have got an early adopter group set up already, rather than launching the product and then trying to get that group. Yeah, that might have been different. And I wonder. The battle I had was, do I try to get people enticed with the idea in that sense and say, listen, we're building this thing, we'd love you to be part of it early on. Yeah. Or do I say, have a look at this awesome thing we've got. Do you want to be part of it? And I went for the latter. And I do wonder sometimes how it would have gone if I'd have gone for the former and established that group before launching.
Interesting. So what do you now spend your time doing now you've launched? How are you running the business? So initially I tried, initially I went door to door in the old school. In the shops, and that was a disaster. Well, that's where you're just meeting, like you said, the low minimum wage employees. Exactly.
And so I meet these people, and they just go, "Sorry, pal, this isn't my decision," or "I don't care." The two worst responses I had were, I said to a guy, "Listen, would you mind just passing this on to your manager?" He said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And he was ripping it up before I'd left the shop. It was a little flyer I was handing to the shops. Just that. Did you just turn around and go, "Thanks, mate"? I mean, you could have even just waited until I left the shop. But yeah, and you could have folded it and put it in the bin. Would you have to rip it up? Whilst making eye contact, just slowly ripping it. Yeah. Oh, I'll make sure he gets it. Don't you worry. Yeah. So that was one of the worst. And then and then another guy said he was actually the shop owner, and I said to him, "We explain what the product is." And he goes, "What does it cost?" I went, "No, for someone like you, it's totally free, and it always will be." And he goes, "There's always a cost. This isn't for us. No, thank you." He just kicks me out. And I said, "I mean, I can charge you if you want." I can put you on the pro plan from now. Yeah. So that was my initial after launch. That was my initial few. That was a few weeks before I went. You know what? This is a disaster. But this is the nature of starting a company, is that you test these things, and if it sucks, you pivot. Exactly. So sorry, things popping up on the screen. So you pivot, and so now I'm approaching it a little bit more. I'm going to say traditional sales and marketing role. I either email people about it and then follow up with calls. I do some cold calling. I have the utmost respect for anyone who does cold calling in their job. It is
painful.
It is, oh God, yeah. And what you've got to remember is that while it's your 20th that day, you're feeling fatigued. This is their first time hearing it, so you got to switch on. You got to be ready, fired up, happy to talk to them. But yeah, it can get a little bit tough. I think I rang one guy and he said, "Sorry, pal, I'm at work." I went, "That's why I called you."
That's literally why I want to speak to you. I want to speak to you about your business.
Yeah, I was teaching about work, and I didn't want to call you at home.
I tried to call your wife, but she wasn't interested. So it's funny. So what sorts of business are you trying to attract to get on the platform? Then are you focusing on sort of an area of London or London itself, or specific places or specific businesses?
Yeah, so doing London to start with, I had started off going, listen, much like my open the doors and they will come. I had the idea of, listen, I'll go nationwide. We'll take people.
We'll go big.
Yeah, we'll go big. We'll take people from anywhere. But of course, if you're looking to prove a product, to say that you've got 3 shops in Manchester, who's that good for?
Yeah.
So now I'm just concentrating on London, and that's both. We do more of a postal campaign with. I'm going to keep using we. I know it's very much. I've got so used to it now that I'm just going to carry on. So do more of a postal campaign for the indie retailers, and what I've decided is that I'm going to give them kind of an envelope that looks like they've been invited to Hogwarts. I want something that they're
nice.
Not going to not open, or at least just go, what is this? So.
Chunky mail, isn't it? That's what they call that.
Say again?
They call it chunky mail, don't they?
Chunky mail. It's a little bit like that, yeah. Yeah. I looked into getting wax seals, but it's quite a pricey process to do en masse.
You can just get the actual stamp and wax,
and just like glue it.
Yeah, just do it yourself. Yeah, just commit the time to doing that. I think that'd be cool. So let's talk about that we aspect. So you're a sole founder.
Yeah.
What made you go down the sole founder route versus the normal route where people go, look, I want to bring on a marketing person or a salesperson? Normally people bring on their weakest point. Normally it's probably a developer, but you are the developer. So
so it's exactly that. In that my weakest point is probably sales and marketing. It's something I'm the least exposure to. I'm passionate about the product, but some people know the language to use, how to do the right kind of sales techniques, etc. And plus I just always want to be friends with people. So, whereas some people are great at keeping
I'll give you 12 monts free, no worries.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So some people are really good at keeping a face and, just going for the sale, whereas I'm like, hey, buddy, let's you and I be pals. Listen, if you don't want to join the product, what about you and I just hang out the weekend?
Yeah. Why don't we go play some tennis?
Yeah, exactly. So the sales and marketing part is my weakest aspect, and because the product hadn't been built yet, I thought, the sales and marketing part can at least wait a little while. It's going to happen, but it can at least wait. And I thought if I was to find a co-founder really early on, it's 50-50 in my head anyway. I think it should be 50-50. Whereas if I've built a product and established a user base, it just kind of means that I don't have to give up so much equity.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm a bit of a control freak as well. I think I like to have that. At the early stages, I like to know that the product is mine. Every decision is mine. I get to see it in the end. And
and you were doing the hard work anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you had a sales guy, they'd just be like, so you done that thing yet?
Yeah. For the first few months, what would they have done? I mean,
exactly. No, it makes sense. I think it's an interesting topic because a lot, there's so many pros and so many cons against being a solo founder, co-founder. But I do honestly believe it just comes down to your mentality in terms of what you're willing to put into it, what you want to get out of it, and where you want it to go.
one aspect where I really thought, I wish I had a co-founder was when I was working, as in literally working on my own. It was nice to have like a buddy here who's like in the trenches with me.
Yeah.
That's when things got a little tough, and yeah,
weren't tempted to go for like a co-working space.
So did actually rent an office for a little while. If any of your listeners are a fan of the show, People Just Do Nothing. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I rented office space where they produced that show, and so the cast would occasionally come in, like your buddy G and Grinder and Beats. Yeah, they're lovely guys. But yes,
lovely chaps.
Lovely chaps. So I rented office space there. A friend of mine works there, and he had heard that they occasionally lease out space. So what was nice is I actually got to work with him, next to him for a little while, one of my best friends. Shout out to Steve. I don't think he's watching, but
get him subscribed when you finish this. Text him.
Will do. So yeah, got to work with him for a little while, and then as cash flow just started to,
it really burns a hole in your pocket if you're not making money.
Yeah, and, they were giving me, it was mates rates. They were giving me a cheap rate, but if you can afford to lose it and you can just survive, do it.
That's it.
There was a period of time though afterwards. I was working out my sorry listeners. I was working out of my bedroom, and that was mentally really tough. And you caged in there, and I initially thought I was kind of spiraling a little, and I really thought that it was because the work I was doing wasn't great, and it ended up just being the environment. So I ended up going out to coffee shops or to pubs, not drinking, if mom's listening.
Hold on.
And that was great, because even just by being nearby people, it's quite refreshing. And
the environment makes such a huge difference.
God, yeah. I did some work recently. I just did a little brief bit of contract work. And I worked in a spot where they didn't face any windows. It's a totally inward-facing desk.
Oh no!
The office has windows, but their table, faced inwards. I was saying, guys, how do you do this? Like
and they probably just thought, well, we've never thought about it.
Yeah,
it's always been this way.
Yeah, working environment is really, really important.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the future. Where do you want this to go? What's next? What's on the big plans for you?
Well, the typical tech
in terms of the business, not as in like I want to go travel Thailand.
Yeah. I've recently taken up skateboarding. I really want to go. So the typical tech life cycle at the minute seems to be, exist making no money for 3 years, constantly be funded, do rounds of funding, and then head off to the stratosphere. And I think that works for some companies, but I think Silicon Valley has idolized this idea of the unicorn, and so now everyone chases this $1 billion company. I mean, just think about how much money $1 billion is. And there's a wonderful podcast with the guy who started Basecamp.
Yeah.
And he says what's happening now is just the greed of the investors is pushing companies who are $100 million company, which is a wonderful number. If I told you in 10 years you're going to own $100 million company, you would go, oh my God, it's wonderful. But they're pushing a $100 million company to be a $1 billion company. And this aggressive growth isn't necessarily good for the company, isn't necessarily good for the culture.
Yeah.
And one thing that he highlights, which I thought was really important, is of a fund of 10 companies, they'll expect 2 or 3 to make their money back.
Yeah, exactly.
6 or 7 to lose, to be just a wasted investment, and then 1 to make the money back of the entire fund, and then profit onwards. And isn't that crazy though, that my investors would be interested in taking my company further than it needs to go because their other investments were bad?
Yeah.
Which I think is crazy. So, if I had a profitable, I don't know, £500,000 a year company, they're going, well, but we want to make you a £5 million company.
Yeah.
And if it's not ready for that, what's that going to mean? And so at the minute, my goal is to pay myself a salary. That's my goal. If it can be a profitable company without having to do deep venture capital funds and rounds of funding, I think that would be brilliant. That would be that'd be the dream. But then I also understand, people go the investment route for a reason.
Yeah.
It gives people a big leap into being able to market their companies and, to different things that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do with just a steady cash flow income.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think there's, I speak to a lot of founders, and often the thing that they come to me, one of the first questions is they're going, "Oh, we're gearing up for investment. We need to do some strategy to make our business more profitable and all that kind of stuff." And actually, by the end of it, they realize that if they make their business more profitable, they don't need the investment that they want.
Yeah.
And it's just this, like you said, this unicorn or this shiny penny that everyone feels like they need to get. It's almost like when you're at school and it was that Pokemon phase, everyone needed the Pokemon cards. You had to get the Pokemon card.
Yeah.
And it's only when you step back, and you're in a really nice position as well, I think, because you're so integral to your own business in terms of the build of it, that you know what worth other people can bring on really easily. So when we think about investment, it's something that is so bizarre. It's such a bizarre world because some of it is just like not even tangible in terms of what that business can do with that investment. I know there's a couple of companies out there that are VC backed that I know personally, and the VC has said to them, "We're not going to let you die because we're in it too deep." So now they're just being pumped money to be kept alive, and you're just thinking, like, what is the end game of that? But at the end game is, like you said, they're hoping that in 3-4 years time, some bigger company is going to buy them out for a nice little sum, and they're going to run off into the moonlight or sunlight or dance on a beach or whatever.
I think what a lot of people hear as well is when they think, I've been invested, I might get investment of £10 million. They think they're rich.
Yeah.
And that's not how it works.
No, that's not your 10 million. It's not going into your personal bank.
Yeah, exactly. There's a wonderful book by called Lost and Founder by Rand Fishkin. He started Moz.com.
Okay.
And he says, I think he went through a round of funding, and he just said, people assumed I was rich, but actually I owned a share of an expensive painting no one wanted to buy. I've got a lot of money locked in this thing that isn't for sale. And so that's the reality of getting investment. It's not you suddenly become rich. You can pay yourself a bigger salary, sure, but you've also got to tell your investors that I'm going to suddenly start taking, rather than my 30k salary, I'm suddenly going to take 100.
Yeah. No, you can't, because that's 70k out of our money now.
Exactly,
not yours. Oh, damn it.
Have you ever seen the Dragon's Dens episode where they quiz about what you're going to spend the money on? And
I always used to love it when Theo would go, why should I give you £60,000 for my children's inheritance? You're like, classic Theo line.
Yeah, but it's great when they say, I'm going to pay myself 50 grand, and then suddenly all the dragons are going, no.
I think so.
Yeah.
If anything, you're not going to pay yourself for the next 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so if your goal is to pay yourself a salary, let's say a decent salary, let's give you something there. What do you have to do in 2020 to achieve that? Like, how many retailers and things do you need to get on board?
A fine question. So this has been something I've spent a lot of time thinking about and sweating over. And so so there's a kind of critical mass, isn't there, of what salary I would like and what that costs per month. Let's put it at 30k, just as a
nice number
to talk about. So there's a critical mass in where enough subscribers, and if, let's say, we advertise the product, how much ad revenue it can generate, all these different methods of generating revenue. There's a critical mass where that flips and says, okay, there's now enough to take as a salary. And the debate I'm having is, well, okay, do I look to sell to retailers to achieve that critical mass, or do we go for a method more like a kind of Facebook style where we say, or let's just go after users at whatever cost and establish a user base. And if I'm honest, right now, I'm still umming and ahhing about which direction to go. I wish I had a better answer for you there.
That's a good answer, because I think it shows that it's not as easy as a normal person might think, oh, that's easy, just get some retailers on, users will find the app on the App Store, you'll make some money and congratulations, you've got a shiny app. When in reality, it's like, no, we need X amount of users to make this a viable business realistically. And then it's like, oh, now I can start taking money off it. Now I can start paying myself after like marketing or whatever else you're spending. You know, again, thankfully you're not paying a developer as well. Or maybe your business owes you a lot as in development costs.
I'll build them later.
Yeah.
But there's also another question to ask as well is, what's the critical mass for it to even be a product? So one of the discussions I've had with retailers is they don't want to join a platform where there's no customers on it, and customers won't download an app. There's no stores on.
It's catch-22.
And how do you solve that catch-22? Something, again, one of the many things that keeps me awake at night. Yeah,
it's a really interesting product, and one that I think is very unique as well. So I think it will do very well, and it's just about getting out there, getting the ball rolling a little bit faster, I suspect, and making sure that nobody rips up a leaflet in front of you ever again, because I think it's a great now.
Well, I think one move I'm going to make this year is to take ownership of the internet presence of it, which I know is a funny to say as an app company, but the social media aspects, to own the LinkedIn and to own the Twitter profile and say, here's what we're doing, and to share about it. Because I think a part of me as well is always a little bit, while I'm quite an extrovert person, is still always a little bit shy about it, to say, you know, I've done this thing.
You got to own it. If you don't own it, no one else is going to know about it.
Yeah. Maybe it comes back to that thing of just, you know, wanting people to like me. I don't want them to go, this is terrible. Why would we use this? You know, so
great. Someone else will use it. That's fine. You know, not everyone uses Amazon, believe it or not.
Yeah, true.
I don't believe it, but apparently it's true. Yeah. But no, Ash, listen, thank you so much for coming on. My last question, as always, is if you could give 3 tips to any founders out there to help them on their journey, what would they be?
3 tips.
Throwing you under the bus.
Okay. I'm happy you went with something like that, because I thought you were going to do something like, have you ever seen Inside the Actor's Studio, where they give the 10 questions at the end? Anyway.
I'll watch it.
Yeah. So 3 tips. So one would certainly be, as great as you think your idea is, other people won't. And even if it's free, when I moved into the role of, once it had launched, getting people on board, I was saying to my friends, it's way harder to sell something for free than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it is.
I really thought I could just turn up and say, here's what we've got, here's this idea. And they go, thumbs up, I'll see you online. But that is not the case. So that'd probably be number one. I can't speak for female founders, because I'm not one. But one piece of advice I'd give for male founders, I think something we particularly struggle with is if we're having difficulty, and you know, we're sort of taught as young men, you put the lid on that jar and you shut up.
Yeah.
And you hold it in. Yeah. So
man up, all those. Yeah.
Yeah. For a lot of the first, for a lot of time of the first few months, you know, I was really struggling to sleep, and I was waking up throughout the night, and not necessarily worried, but just thinking about everything I had to think about. And sometimes just to say it to people, just go, oh man, I'm really like, this is really hard. You know, this is really tough. And, you know, there's great aspects to it, but there's also some really horrible ones as well. Yeah, that would probably be my one. If you can find someone to, you know, almost have a little session with, and just go, you complain about your problems, I'll complain about mine. We'll sit over a beer and just put the world to rights. And then finally, I think I'd probably go with, it would be too easy to say. It would be too easy to say you just got to do it, because that's a big request of people. I think, and I also imagine a lot of your guests say that you've just got to do it. Mm-hmm. So I'll tweak that slightly and say there is nothing that you can't point at and just go, I bet I can do that. And that's something I've discovered a lot in the past few years. I did that the other night with stand-up comedy, and I actually did 5 minutes of stand-up, and I had in what the industry call a bomb. It went terribly. But yeah, there's just been certain things, you know, I took up jiu-jitsu recently, and it's just pointing at stuff and going, I can do that. So
I'll give it a shot.
If someone else can do it, I can do it. I remember my brother said to me when I was younger, he goes, if people on Jeremy Kyle can get a driver's license, so can you.
So true. So true. Bring back Jeremy Kyle. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm not going to give out my phone number. But you can follow Peruse on Twitter, Twitter at Peruse HQ. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's always good to connect with people. / just search Ashley Hogarth or Peruse, you'll find me. And then also our LinkedIn profile. That'd be good.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Ash. You have been guest number 37 on Founders365. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Thank you so much.
Good luck the rest of the year.